Hey guys, Becky here with your trainer tip of the week. This one is a bit for the ladies or for any men who want to listen and so that you can support the women in your life. I'm going to be talking about the female cycle, periods, and how that relates to your training and nutrition and how you can use this information to your advantage. So first of all, just a quick caveat, if you are taking any form of contraceptive or birth control, some of the things I'm about to speak about next might not relate as much to you because that does affect your hormones in a different way. And I will also quickly touch on perimenopause and menopause as well. So just a brief description of the female cycle. Basically, there's two phases. There's the follicular phase, which is from day one of the bleed till ovulation, and then the luteal phase, which is from ovulation until the next cycle begins. And there's some key hormone changes that happen. So as we approach ovulation, estrogen rises and progesterone comes into play in that second half as well. And then they both drop as you approach your next period. So let's talk about why estrogen is important and we need to understand it. Some of the things that estrogen does is it helps with protein synthesis, which is so how much protein you have controls how much muscle you can maintain and develop. If you're not having enough protein, it's going to be really hard to build and maintain muscle. And having estrogen in the system helps with that process of taking protein into muscle. Estrogen also helps with muscle repair and recovery. It assists with stiffness in tendons and laxity in ligaments, which is going to come into play with how you're functioning during your training and increase risk or less risk of injury. It also increases pain tolerance, which is handy. If you're training hard, it's going to reduce any muscle soreness that you have and how you're feeling in your sessions. And it also increases insulin sensitivity. So what do all those things mean? Your key takeaways here is that when your estrogen is high, so we're talking about from around the time when you first bleed to ovulation, it's going to be high. And then as you approach the beginning of your next cycle, it's going to be low. So when your estrogen is high, you're going to be feeling really strong potentially. You're going to be feeling like your recovery is really well. Your mood is going to be really good. You're going to have less risk of injury. And it's going to be much easier to adhere to your diet. In, let's say, the week before your next cycle is about to arrive, I think many women would have experienced their moods are not quite as good. They may be a little bit hungrier, or we talk about having cravings. And one thing that you may or may not have noticed is that you potentially have a stronger or a more increased risk of injury or little pains and niggles coming up. I know that's something that myself and Carly have noticed, is that some of the injuries that we have tend to flare up around that time, and that's because we've sort of been observing those changes within our body. So it's something to be very conscious of. Now, we don't want to let this control us. We don't want to go, oh, my cycle's about to come, I need to eat everything and I might get injured, so I shouldn't train. But you do want to be conscious of it and start to learn and become aware of your body. Now, let's quickly touch on perimenopause and menopause. So perimenopause refers to the stage where you're leading up to menopause, and this can actually last up to 10 years. So it can start from your late 30s. The average woman goes through menopause in their 50s, and that is when menopause is described as when you have not had a period for 1 year. So what happens in perimenopause is that our estrogen and progesterone are kind of possibly doing this. And again, every woman is completely different. So you may just cruise through and it may not be a big deal, or you may find that your hormones are up, down, and all around. Your sleep is going to be affected, all these sorts of things. So what we need to be aware of in this stage is that it can be a lot like being stuck in that luteal phase the week before your next cycle arrives. So we just need to listen to our bodies, be patient, think of sleep and recovery, and just take it as it comes. Now, how can you use this information? So let me make sure I get all these points in here. So number one, don't let it control you, because every month is different. Some months you may feel these things a lot, some months you may not. So you may feel a bit stronger at certain times or a bit weaker. You may feel a bit hungrier or not. And every month could be different depending on what your hormones are doing. Number two, you have a potential to lift more weight and recover better at certain phases of your cycle. So we're talking about that sort of mid-range when you're coming into or leading up to ovulation. Being mindful of any niggles or pains or injuries. in the week before your cycle is going to arrive, because these can play up a little bit. And again, that's related to that point on the tendons and ligaments being stiffer or laxer. Start observing if you're not already. So a lot of women are using some kind of app or something to track their cycle, which can be very helpful. And open up a conversation with your trainer. So you don't necessarily need to come in and tell your trainer exactly where you are in your cycle if that's something that you're not comfortable with. But a way to open that conversation could be coming in and saying, I feel like working really hard today. I'm ready to go, you know, because you can tell that your body is really pumped, ready. You've slept well. You feel like you're going to recover well, and you know you can smash it in your session. Or if you're not feeling super good and you know that you might need to be a little bit more careful, just say, hey, I really need to take it a little bit easy today and get through the session. So how you want to talk about this with your trainer is completely open. Please have a chat with us though, because all the trainers here are across this. We do our monthly education, and we really want to help you in the best way possible. If you are in perimenopause or menopause, key things there need to be that the focus really needs to be on muscle preservation and muscle development.